What exactly is going on right now, and what does it mean for Americans?
Venezuela, a country that has a population about 10 times the size of Utah, a landmass of about uh, 4 times the size of Utah, a country that has maybe 19 to 20% of the world's known oil reserves, but is only has produces about 1% of that capacity, has a history of unstable governments. You might remember Richard Nixon, 1959, vice president. His car was stoned. He was lucky to get out of there alive back in 1959. When I was there in 1979, May, representing Mayor Wilson and a delegation down there, everywhere we went, there were soldiers with big guns. And that was during a time of relative peace, Venezuela being an oil producing country. But it's a country that's very diverse. While Spanish is the common language, there are about 26 different languages in the world, and very in the country, and very diverse in terms of its population. Has a high crime rate. As a result, 8 to 9 million Venezuelans have migrated out of the country, many of them to Florida, to the U.S. I've had two Venezuelan students live in my home studying at the University of Utah. It's a country that is strategically located at the southern end of the Caribbean. And so, in that way, it's a strategic country that um, uh, corresponds to America's land acquisition. We acquired Cuba and Puerto Rico and the Philippines back 1898. We never gave back all of Cuba. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba at the south end is very strategic. Um, it's a country that Americans need to know more about because it is at the northern tip of South America.
Nicolás Maduro, he was, I guess, what indicted on
Yes,
these criminal charges back in
yes,
2020
that is
during
correct.
Trump's first administration. Why do you think it's right now that we're seeing him essentially brought to this country to face these charges right now?
Oh, I think it has something to do with Donald Trump, who is a lame duck president, who is in a rush to judgment to try to achieve his goals before the midterm elections this year. And he has acted, I think, beyond the Constitution without consulting Congress at all, because this is all about oil. This is oil acquisition here. This is minimal in terms of drugs. So if we want to go back drugs, let's talk about China and Mexico and areas in Southeast Asia. This is about oil, and the president is very focused upon fossil fuels.
And we're hearing things like it's about oil. What are Americans to make of this whole situation?
Well, I think it's important to know our history, but more so to also know what we have done and failed to do in terms of regime change. You might say that Vietnam was about regime change. So was Iraq. So was Afghanistan. These were failures. Uh, with Iraq and Afghanistan, we were also talking about oil, and that did not work out well. Um, we have a history going back even with President Reagan back in 1983, the small island in the Caribbean, Grenada, that we overthrew the government there in order to have some control. Um, uh, 30 years ago in 1989, we invaded Panama and seized the general president who had been on the CIA payroll, General Noriega, brought him to the United States, had a trial, he was convicted, imprisoned, and then sent to Spain. That's the closest analogy I can give you right now with regard to what we've just done with regard to Maduro. Now, Maduro came to power in 2019. Before him was a fellow named Chavez, and Chavez was a bad guy as well. He came to power, I think, in 1999 to just about in 12 years later. So there's state-sanctioned crime. Yes, there's drugs, but this really is focused upon the United States acquiring land because, again, where we're sitting right now was land that we acquired uh, after the war. After the War of 1812, we declared war on Mexico. We acquired all the land to the west of the Pacific, and then in 1898 we acquired the land of Cuba and the Philippines and Puerto Rico. So it comes down to, yes, there's international law, but there's also the power. If we have the power and the desire, we can do it. And we have. America is the superpower in the world, has been since the end of World War II. And this, again, is about power and money. It's about oil.
Are there international laws and domestic laws at play here?
What we've done, if you remember after 9/11, we made an effort, as Vice President Cheney said, we're going to go over and operate on the dark side. And we ended up seizing, acquiring several hundred individuals that we deemed to be terrorists. Now, some people might say one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. We acquired these people and we imprisoned them basically at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and we eventually put them into Supermax, the Alcatraz equivalent in Colorado. We have hundreds of individuals there that we seized in foreign countries, brought to the United States, tried them and convicted them under United States law, and we have imprisoned them with the goal of never allowing another 9/11 to occur.
What's next for the country of Venezuela?
That is a question that we don't know. This is unprecedented. Question about, for example, how is the Venezuelan military going to respond to this? How are the people of Venezuela going to respond? Um, our president, I think, really undercut his position by discrediting Machado, who just received the Nobel Peace Prize, saying she didn't have support. So she's not identified as potentially a new leader in the government. The vice president has been uncertain in terms of how she's going to respond to a statement saying our country is going to run Venezuela. What does that mean? Are we going to occupy Venezuela? That didn't work out well in Vietnam. It didn't work out well in Iraq. It didn't work out well in Afghanistan. And our president campaigned and was elected in part saying no more foreign wars. And yet now he's done a 180 turn, which has caused politically dissension immediately within his own political party in an election year, in a midterm election year. So we have uncertainty in the United States as well as in Venezuela, because it's not just Venezuela, it's next door Colombia, and it's the other countries in Central and South America who are reacting, saying this sounds like Theodore Roosevelt boat gun diplomacy here. We're basically using power to assert what the United States wants, not what all of people in Central, South, and North America wants.
So we'll leave it right there, Tim. We'll be following this closely, as I know you will. Thank you again so much for your time today and your
Yeah,
added context around
thank you
this.
so very much. This is such an important issue for all of us.